Please be advised that this week's episode contains stories about suicide and may be upsetting to some listeners. If you or someone you know are in need of suicide helpline assistance, please visit www.befrienders.org. Hey guys,
What's up?
welcome to Dead Curious, the podcast where we like to talk about spooky things.
At night.
At night, well, we record at night. If my recording sounds a little bit funny, we were having some issues. We got Jess, my lovely sister, got me this nice headset with a great little mic that I could actually use. That my recording's better. But alas, we couldn't record off the computer for unforeseen circumstances, so we had to quickly switch to cell phone. So apologies if I'm a bit echoey. I'm not in my usual recording spot, but let's see how it goes.
At this point, technical problems are not a new thing for us, though. So, but sorry anyway. We'll get it sorted as soon as we can.
I mean, if you listen to our first two episodes, I do feel like it's already gotten better.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
so
I definitely agree.
I went old school here. I wrote some notes down. So that's me paging through. I have a Dead Curious notebook now.
I want one. Oh, I actually do have a notebook that would be really cute for this kind of thing. And it's funny because it's floral, so you wouldn't expect it to have freaky stuff in it.
Mine says Space Station, Digital Media Solutions. So there you are, guys. You just got a free little advertising spot there on our podcast to all of our listeners, which actually brings me to one of the notes. Our listeners, our Curious Clan is growing, and we now have people. Let's see who we've got. Australia has joined the party, so has Hong Kong, so has Germany and New Zealand. Welcome aboard, guys. We're so happy to have you in our little international family, and it's so cool to see us growing so quickly.
Yes, I'm so excited. Like I think I saw Hong Kong and who did I say it was? Australia? Was it Hong Kong and Australia that I saw?
Mm.
That I showed you the other day, and I was like so excited. It's so exciting.
I know. So yes, guys, thank you so much. We are able to monitor like where listeners are coming from. But other than that, this is a podcast, so naturally it's a little one way. We can't really get to see your lovely faces. So to share your support with us, please like and share and follow or favorite or whatever it is that the platform you are using to listen to us does. Does that make sense?
That did make sense. I was following along carefully.
Awesome. So whatever the platform you use, whatever option it gives you, please do it because it really helps us and it lets us know that you are out there, that you can hear us, that you're enjoying it. And don't forget to send us in those stories. I got quite a few today, this week, actually. Cool, creepy stuff. I cannot wait to do our encounters episode. So that's coming up soon.
I'm excited for that one. I think I'm
I know.
looking most forward to that because, I mean, like you said, we don't get to see anyone. We kind of just telling our stories and hoping people like it and share it. But it's really nice to hear from everybody, and also it's just like a really exciting episode that I can't wait to do.
Yes. So, guys, if you do want to send us a story, please email it to us with your alias name, should you wish to remain anonymous, which a lot of people seem to prefer doing. It's totally understandable. Please email your story to us at deadcuriouspod, that's deadcuriouspod for podcast at gmail.com.
We look forward to hearing from you.
We do. Which brings us to our stories.
Yes, and I am going first tonight. So, my story tonight is about the Stadens Bridge. And it's a very well-known bridge for South Africans.
Oh, yeah.
It's a concrete bridge in the Eastern Cape. It's about 30 kilometers from Port Elizabeth, which is where we are from. And it was opened on the 11th of November in 1971. So it's very well known, not only because of the wildflower reserve, but it's also because it's known as the Death Bridge, because of the large amount of suicides and suicide attempts that are made at the bridge every year. And it's also known to be a spot where satanic rituals are conducted that very often include animal and blood sacrifices, and has been associated with the spirit of death,
I know.
which would of course be the Grim Reaper or Angel of Death or God of Death or whatever you want to call it.
Fifi.
You shall now be Fifi.
No, but in all seriousness, this is like the stories behind this bridge are so tragic. So I'm not going to be making any I wasn't making a joke about the bridge. I'm making a joke about the stupid name for death. So please continue.
Okay. So at the base of the bridge, where the bridge and the ground are connected, there's an area that you can kind of climb onto. So it's sort of like a concrete area just beneath the bridge. And there's like a manhole covering. I don't know what you would call that, like a lid, one of those round metal lids. And you can remove that, and there's a ladder that goes down into like a tunnel between the concrete. So there's like a concrete tunnel basically underneath the bridge. And supposedly that is where the satanic rituals are done. Either there or actually below the bridge along the riverbed. But I think it's assumed that it's done in that tunnel area because it's closed off and it's difficult to get there. So no one would really be able to stop anyone if they suspected something was going on there.
Sorry, did you say that the rituals happen in the riverbed underneath the bridge?
Yes, it's suspected.
Okay, please, I need to tell you a personal story about Van Stadens Bridge later.
Sure, I'll remind you.
Okay, cool. All right, so that is where they suspect this activity is happening.
Yes. So either in the tunnel or on the riverbed directly below the bridge. But of course, there is a lot of graffiti in the surrounding area where this tunnel is. So it's difficult to tell if like the symbols and the stuff that's written on the walls are actually a result of the rituals or if they were just, dumb teenagers exploring the area and like messing around and being dumb.
You mean kids being dicks?
Kids being dicks. And many people have claimed that there's like a spiritual force that draws them to the bridge and sort of like encourages them to jump. And apparently people have witnessed others being picked up and thrown over the edge by some like unseen force, as if someone is pushing onto them. And it's it said that if you look over a tall building or something, you kind of have this feeling of gravity pulling you down. But
Isn't it
people,
called vertigo?
yes, I believe so. But this is kind of different. I mean, people have actually said they feel hands on their back pushing them forward, or like something
Uh,
physically holding onto them and pulling them down.
Ew.
Um, and I didn't read this anywhere in my research, but I remember someone telling me um, a story that they had read, or something that someone had told them. Um, some people apparently hear like people telling them to jump, or hear someone calling their name from below.
Wasn't it from that there was a retired policeman, or I'm not sure if you call it policeman, but those people that talk down suicidal people in the police force? Forgot what it's called, but there was this retired oak who was giving his he was giving some testimonies about the bridge, and I think it was him who said he spoke to a guy who was like crying and wailing on the bridge, and then he heard a voice telling the guy that the policeman heard a voice telling the guy to jump, and the guy was like no, and he was pulled off the bridge by an unseen
Ooh,
force. That's the
it
story
could
I
have
heard.
been. It could
I
have been
think,
that one.
but this was like years ago. I'm pretty sure that's where you're remembering it from, because that's where we heard it for the first time, I think, and we're quite young.
It might have been that one, because when I read about that part where people are seen being picked up and flung over the edge, that
Mm.
reminded me of something I'd heard as well. So I think it might have been that same story.
It went something like that, but yeah, it was a policeman or someone, in law enforcement who was talking about his experiences with it.
Mm, I think it was that.
Mm.
Um,
It's creepy as hell.
yeah, but I mean, this bridge is, because it's known for the large number of suicides and suicide attempts. You would assume that all of these people are mentally unstable in some way.
Mm.
But a lot of people feel the need to look over the edge, or feel the need to go towards the edge of the bridge, just while they're walking along. They're not necessarily going there to um, commit suicide or anything like that. They might just be walking near the area, and then suddenly they get this strong desire to go over the edge. So,
Mm-mm.
even like a regular trip in the area could cause somebody to be drawn to the bridge. But I mean, it's easy to understand how someone who is not in a good mental state would be easily persuaded by
Mm.
whatever spiritual force people believe are in the area.
Yeah.
And a lot of people believe that the bridge has been cursed since, well, cursed in a sense,
Oh
um,
yeah.
from the start, because just 12 days after the bridge was built, a man from Uitenhage jumped off the bridge to his death. And, that's sort of where the Bridge of Death started. It
Mm.
became a hotspot, a suicide hotspot in South Africa,
Mm.
because I don't think there's been a single person who has survived the fall, um, because there are a lot of quite large and sharp rocks along the riverbed below the
Mm.
bridge.
Yeah, it's a hiking trail underneath there,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
people have warned that you must be careful. They have crews and stuff that obviously go and clean up
Mm,
after the tragedy of a suicide, but every now and then they miss a tooth or bone.
yeah. Um, the number of suicides have been said to be around, I think, one every 18 months or so. So
Mm.
at least two a year. And I think the total number of suicides by the end of 2012 was close to 90. Um,
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it's sitting at now. I couldn't find um, a number, a recent number, but that's still quite a lot. I mean, that's more than two every year, and that's excluding the
Mm.
attempts. Those are just
Yeah.
um, the ones who weren't able
Mm.
to survive and who weren't stopped in time. So, a journalist from Gauteng was able to raise funds in 2005 after his daughter had jumped off the bridge in 2003. And
Mm.
he was able to get a video camera surveillance system installed so that they could monitor the area. And
Mm.
since those cameras have been installed, the police and pedestrians walking in the area have been able to rescue many, many people who've attempted to jump off the bridge.
Oh, good.
One of the rescues that happened was when a man was, of course, looking over the edge. He was trying to jump over, but he was stopped by someone who walked past him, and he said that he felt a sudden chill, as if God was speaking to him, and he turned and grabbed the man.
Oh,
And
wow.
he was actually, by doing this, he was putting his own life in danger because this man was struggling and trying so hard to get over the edge, and he even threatened to pull him over with him.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
so this man struggled for about 45 minutes or so
What?
to get the man to stop the man from jumping over. Um, but eventually, the police were able to get the man, and they took him back to the police station. But this guy saved him for a second time after the jumper, or the attempted jumper, got out of the police station and jogged back to the bridge in order to try again.
Okay, so the
So
same guy went to attempt suicide for the second time and was saved the second time by the
by the
same
same
guy who
guy.
saved him the first time.
Yes. He saved this
Oh
man
my word.
twice. Yeah. Um, but a lot of people weren't so lucky. Um,
Yeah.
and I think one of the most popular stories was when a woman, she was 62 years old, she jumped off the bridge after her son had drowned in a rafting accident.
Oh no.
And she wasn't able to get over the loss of her son, and she couldn't get past the grieving. And so she went to the bridge to end her life. And unfortunately, there was nobody who was in the area to stop her.
Oh no.
But for me, one of the worst and saddest stories that I read um, was when the police found the bodies of two children, a little girl and an older boy,
Oh
along with
no.
the body of a man. And they found a suicide note with the man's body, and they um, they came to the conclusion that they were related, and that the man must
Mm.
have thrown his children over the side. Um,
Oh no.
the information that they gathered from his suicide note put these pieces together for them, and the children's bodies were in two completely different areas. So they're assuming that the one saw the first child get thrown over and tried to run away.
Oh no. Oh
Yeah,
no.
the man jumped after them. So, yeah,
Oh my gosh.
that was the worst story that I had seen about.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That is
it's awful.
so sad.
So, yeah, these cameras have been put up to stop things like this from happening in the future, because that is, that's not something you ever want to happen to anybody, but especially not children. Besides the surveillance cameras that have been put up, there have been other measures that have been put in place to prevent future suicide attempts. There are SOS phones and barriers that have been put up, and there was also a giant cross that was erected in 2013 that can be seen from the bridge, with a message next to it that says, "Jesus loves you." And in February 2018, there was a man who had planned to end his life by jumping off the bridge, and he changed his mind when he saw that cross, and he said that he realized it was not God's will for him to kill himself. And the police had seen him on the TV monitors and were able to get to him and persuade him to go back to the police station with him. So
Wow.
even something as simple as having a cross in sight is able to stop people from going through with what they'd planned. So they have been able to stop and rescue many, many people, just with the cross at the bottom of the bridge. So, the barriers and the SOS phones can really, really be that one thing that helps somebody to change their mind and to realize that, there are people out there that can and want to help. So yeah, that is the end of my story.
Wow.
That was a sad
That
one.
is,
It's quite hectic.
it is quite hectic. There are, though, a lot of rumors. You were talking about it's as if people are getting pushed or pulled off the bridge. Like, I once heard a story about somebody hearing like whispers from a town away
Ooh.
saying that they need to go to the bridge. Like, there's so many stories around this bridge. It is very, very creepy. And just driving over it to this day, even when I was little, before I knew the stories, like, you would get the creeps driving over that bridge. You just get that, you just get that
The heebie-jeebies
feeling. Yeah, it does just have a very weird feeling. So I'm going to very, very, very quickly tell you about my creepy encounter with the bridge.
Go ahead.
Okay, so my story is one day, Jax, myself, and a couple of our friends decided that we're going to go hiking. And one of the more experienced hikers in our group suggested that we go to Stadens. I didn't know it, but apparently there's this gorgeous hiking trail underneath the bridge, and it really was beautiful. So we started from the one side, and then we hiked our way upstream. So we hiked underneath the bridge, and I won't lie, I got such creeps just knowing how many people had died on the ground that I was walking on. Super creepy. But once you pass that, once you're a couple kilometers upstream, so the stream's going against you, and I say this because it's important. Going upstream, it's a slight uphill, and then after a couple of kilometers, my unfit ass needs a sit down. So there's this beautiful. The water starts to get a little bit stronger. The stream. So there's these beautiful little like rock pools that have formed, but very shallow. Like a 5-year-old could swim in it, and you don't have to worry. Like they've these big, beautiful rocks. So I go up ahead of the guys. So I'm in front of the group by quite a little bit, and I climb up to the biggest rock pool and to stick my feet in it. And then I notice that there's something shiny in the pool. So I go, okay, ooh, shiny, like any girl does. I reach in and I grab this gold thing from inside the stream. And when I pull it out, I see, oh, it's a name badge. Like, okay, that's strange. When I turn the name badge around, it has Jax's full name on it.
Oh.
A couple of kilometers upstream from the Van Stadens Bridge.
Like his full name,
So I
as
call
in his
Jack's
first, middle, and surname.
no, well, first and last
Okay.
name. I don't want to give his full. I don't want to give his name on
No,
podcast.
I
Anyway,
didn't. Well, I just wanted to know
so
if it was like all three names or if it was just the first and the last name.
two, the first and the last. But that's already quite creepy because I'm like, sure, maybe somebody else has the same name as him. So I call him over, right? So he climbs up to where I am. Remember, I'm quite a bit ahead of the other guys now because I wanted to go rest. So he comes up to me and I show him this thing that I'm holding. He goes, "Oh, that's my name badge. Where'd you find it?" And I'm like, "In the rock pool." He's like, "No, you're joking. Like, did you bring it from home or something?" I'm like, "No, I found it now in the rock pool." And I'm like, "Are you sure it's yours and not someone with another name?" He's like, "No, like the branding, the logo, and everything that was on there, it's his. He was the only one working there with that name."
Gross.
He was so like turned off by this thing that he wouldn't touch it. And to this day, I still have it. I'm too afraid to get rid of this thing because I'm afraid it comes back. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, I'd rather keep it and know where it is than throw it away or burn it just to find it again. And just in case anybody's thinking it, because I thought the same thing. Did he maybe hike there before? No, he's never hiked this trail in his life. He's not huge into hiking. Like, he only really does it when I want to go. So there is no reason. And this is a couple kilometers upstream. So it's not like someone tossed it off the bridge and it went down the river.
Mm.
Like, there's no way it could have gotten there unless maybe someone placed it there, which is maybe even creepier.
Yeah, ugh. That's disgusting.
So that's my personal story with the bridge. Not as sad as yours, thank
Thank
goodness,
goodness. Ugh.
but oh my word, so creepy. Okay, so let me do my story.
Mhm.
My story is over 100 years old and is one of the most witnessed and the most documented cases of demonic possession in modern history. And this is the possession of Clara Gimana Seeley. Now, Clara was an orphaned child of Bantu origin. And the only reason why I bring this up is because if you Google images of her, it shows some rando white girl. And no, she was Bantu, which means of African origin. Just putting out that bit of information. At the age of 4, she was taken in and baptized at St. Michael's Mission in KwaZulu-Natal, where she lived and studied. So despite her rough start, Clara did grow up to be a healthy, happy young lady, and she was always respectful and very well behaved. However, 12 years later, in 1906, Clara's demeanor began to change. She started to become insolent and rude. The once polite young girl's language became more and more foul and blasphemous. The nuns and priests of the mission initially tried to help Clara through prayer and giving her crosses and rosary beads to carry with her, but this was to no avail. On July 5th, the day of her 16th birthday, Clara's condition worsened. She became erratic, confused, and visibly restless and agitated. That night, she lay in her dormitory and cried out to the nuns stationed nearby, shouting, "Get the priest. I have to confess something. Get him quickly. I'm afraid Satan will kill me before I've had a chance to confess." Father Erasmus came to her aid and listened to her confession. Clara revealed to him that on turning 16, she had sold her soul to make a pact with Satan, and that she feared that she was now being possessed by him. She was recorded as saying to Father Erasmus the following: "I am lost. I have confessed and taken communion under pretenses. Satan is calling me." Father Erasmus, however, didn't think Clara's situation was so serious and chalked it up to the overactive mind of a rebellious teen, just wanting attention or something. But 6 weeks later, loud noises and screaming brought 2 of the nuns from the mission to Clara's dormitory yet again. There they found her curled up in a ball on the floor. Her clothes were ripped and her bed frame was broken. She told them that she had thrown the crosses and the rosaries that they had given her away, leaving her vulnerable to an evil presence. When the nuns tried to help Clara, she became hysterical, throwing things around and shouting at someone or something that only she could see. She shouted, "You betrayed me. You promised me glory, and now you torture me." Just kind of creepy. There's written accounts of this. Where these quotes are coming from is actually what they had recorded from the ministry, from the mission, sorry. So when they said it's a very well documented case, they recorded everything, even though at this point they didn't believe her. Anyway, after Clara eventually calmed down, Mother Superior called 2 nuns and 3 of the older girls in the dormitory to watch over Clara for the rest of the night. The Mother Superior, though, still didn't believe Clara's claims of being possessed, believing that Clara was just acting out for attention. The night began well, as Clara, the 2 nuns, and the 3 girls sat together and chatted most of the night. They even shared a few laughs. But when Clara began questioning the nuns' faith in God, things quickly changed. A dispute broke out and quickly escalated. It is recorded that on that night, Clara attacked and beat both the nuns so severely that their clothes were torn. With inhuman strength, she threw them to the ground and choked them to the brink of unconsciousness, while the other 3 girls hopelessly looked on in horror. This was kind of like the first inkling of supernatural strength, because how does one girl take on 2 fully grown women, and so ferociously that 3 other girls were too afraid to even get involved? Sounds fishy to me. So after this incident, the priest began to take note, and the mission began to record Clara's situation and the manifestations she showed. Still not entirely convinced that Clara was possessed, they did put her through a series of tests to determine once and for all whether or not she was faking. And one of these tests were, of course, the holy water test. They found that when they sprinkled Clara with holy water, her skin would actually burn and blister like in the movies, even when she wasn't in the midst of a demonic possession. Like, holy water physically hurt her and actually changed her skin, like it would burn. And when she was being possessed, the holy water seemed to bring her out of the possessed state. Another manifestation recorded by the priests was that of fire. Fire would inexplicably appear around Clara's presence. Once this happened in the mission's kitchen, causing a fire so bad that everyone had to evacuate the room. Another time it happened in Clara's bedroom. Flames appeared out of nowhere and rose from the bed that she was lying in, burning the sheets and the bed's wooden bed frame, but leaving Clara and her clothes completely, perfectly unharmed. At this point, Clara could not bear the presence of blessed objects and was apparently able to detect if someone was concealing a rosary or crucifix, and she would complain if anyone brought one near her or into her room. So she's got superhuman strength. She can't touch holy water. She can sense holy objects, and she bursts into flames but doesn't burn. It's starting to pile up at this point. In an account written by a nun at the mission, Clara was said to be able to speak languages that she had previously no knowledge of. This was witnessed by others too, who recorded that Clara understood Polish, German, French, and Norwegian, among other languages she's never had any exposure to before. The same nun also reported that Clara demonstrated clairvoyance and was able to reveal the most intimate secrets and transgressions of people with whom she had no contact. It is also said that she was able to read minds and reveal accurate information about people's private lives. On one occasion, when a boy was teasing her, she revealed to everyone the boy's recent ungodly deed, as well as where it happened and with whom. Naturally, members of the mission grew curious of Clara, whether out of fear or fascination, or if they just wanted to help her. They would gather around and watch her to see if something would happen. She would then reveal the impure thoughts of the people in the group, as well as who they were having those thoughts about, until they would leave out of pure embarrassment or fear thereof. Another time, Father Erasmus went on a trip to Rome. Clara was able to give specific details of his trip, where he had gone, who he had seen, and what he had done there. The information she gave was so accurate and so precise that even Father Erasmus struggled to recall the details she could. But it was all accurate and was all true. And while Father Erasmus was on this trip, an inexperienced priest came to St. Michael's mission with the intention of exorcising and curing Clara. Clara taunted the priest that was trying to help her, and in a moment of weakness, he lost his temper and slapped Clara. She turned to the young priest, tore the soul from his neck, and tore it to pieces. She then threw him to the ground and choked him. Clara then sat and cried as the battered priest fled. After this, Clara was put in a private room far from the other girls. But this is where things got truly terrifying. Loud footsteps and thunderous claps could be heard around the building. People at the mission said that it was so loud it sounded like lightning was striking in the building. Clara's bedroom door would violently bang and shake from the outside while she was inside the room in bed.
So it would shake itself.
The door would shake itself. And now I know people are like, oh, but how can you prove that? Well, when the Reverend Father and a monk went to investigate the noise one night, Clara's door then stopped banging in front of their eyes, but all the other bedroom doors in the dormitory started to shake.
Ooh.
Once a priest heard sounds coming down the hallways, so he patrolled with a gun. When Clara heard about the priest and the gun, she just laughed and said, "The one who is inside me only takes delight and pleasure in all this."
Ugh.
So, yeah, so everything about her, like even from the quotes from before, you can see her demeanor is really starting to change. The possession was getting stronger, but it didn't only affect Clara's surroundings, it began to physically change her. It is said that her neck would sometimes extend so far and with so much pressure that visible lumps would appear and move around under her skin before disappearing. The nun that I spoke about before, that was keeping all the records, she also reported that Clara's cries became savage and beast-like. She wrote saying, "No animal had ever made such a sound. Neither the lions of East Africa nor the angry bulls. At times, it sounded like a veritable herd of wild beasts, orchestrated by Satan, had formed a hellish choir."
Wow.
Very poetic, but also really creepy. So, arguably, the most creepy physical manifestation of Clara's demonic possession was deemed the Serpent Transformation. During this transformation, Clara would fall to the ground on her stomach and then move along the floor like a snake. Like she'd actually wind and move like a snake would, which was humanly impossible. She would also flick her tongue and strike like a snake would. And one time she bit a nun, leaving 2 puncture holes like a snake bite would.
That reminds me of something that Mom told me. I'll have to check the details with her. But she told me about someone that the family knew. I think when she was younger, that something like this happened to. She was like crawling around, not crawling, but like slithering around on the floor and biting people, trying to bite people's ankles or something like that.
A whole new
I'll have to
meaning
check
to
with her.
ankle biter right there. No, that's
Yeah.
like, it sounds rather funny, but by all accounts, like everything I read, this was apparently the creepiest thing. This was the thing that put people off the most, was when she started acting and moving like a snake.
I mean, if you think about it, a person doing that, it's ugh, kind
Oh,
of, I got
yeah.
goosebumps from it.
Yeah. Anyway, finally, two Roman Catholic priests, Reverend, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to say his name right, but I'm going to try. Reverend Mansueti, who was the director of St. Michael's Mission, and Reverend Erasmus, Clara's original confessor, who, if you remember, did not take her seriously. So these two priests were appointed to perform an exorcism. During the exorcism, Clara's first action was to knock the Holy Bible from one of the priest's hands, grab his stole, and attempt to choke him as well with it, like she did the priest before. Thankfully, this guy was a lot more experienced and he was able to continue with the exorcism unfazed. So, this is one of the longest exorcisms I heard about. So, people would come in and check on how it's going. It would start in the morning and they would have to take a break in the afternoon because it was so intense. As many as 170 people witnessed the exorcism throughout the course of the exorcism, and many of them claim to have seen Clara levitate, both horizontally and vertically.
Okay.
Clara's animalistic snarls and screams rang down the hallways, and 2 days into the deliverance, the demon finally agreed to leave the body of the young girl, but not before one last act of defiance. She levitated over the bed, 1.5 meters high, before dropping. And this is the end of the possession. The first one, that is. As in January 1907, Clara made a deal with the devil again, which led to a second exorcism, which thankfully was also successful. Although this time, when the exorcism was complete, a foul odor filled the room, like a sulfurous smell filled the room.
We all know what that means.
Uh-huh. And for those of you that don't know what it means, a sulfur smell is famously linked to demonic possession. So it's like if you go, "Ooh, I'm haunted," but you smell this smell, that real stanky smell, yeah, you're not haunted. You got to get yourself a priest. I don't care if you believe in the stuff or not. Rather be safe than sorry. Just get a priest in. Your house needs to be exorcised. Anyway, thankfully at this point, Clara seemed to have learned her lesson, but the pressure of two demonic possessions and two exorcisms really take a toll on your body. And it is said that although Clara was back to her polite self, she looked like death, and it would take a couple of months before the color returned to her face and she would again be her cheery, normal self. But Clara Gimana Seeley was finally cured, and she never showed any signs of demonic possession again until her death in 1912 at the age of 22. So she died pretty young, but it was due to heart failure, nothing supernatural. So what's interesting about the research I found in this case, and you'll find it in many demonic cases, is people obviously ask the question, and I always ask this question too. Could it be a misdiagnosed mental issue? And obviously they asked that as well, like, was she really possessed? Maybe she did just have a bit of a mental break or something. But the priests did bring up a very good point, that a mental condition can't be cured, it can only be managed. And the fact that she never showed signs of possession or mental illness or anything like that ever again does sort of point to the fact that she was perhaps cured of whatever was going on. So that that for me quite strongly crosses out mental illness in this situation. Also, I mean, it's not going to cause you to levitate. Let's
I
just be
was
honest.
just about to say,
Yeah, I
no
know.
mental illness is gonna make you float off the ground.
But people are going to bring up the mental illness because I did reading this. I was like, did they have this poor girl checked? So people are going to bring up the mental illness thing. So I just wanted to say I looked into it. Apparently, so did they. Some people also
Well,
believe the
that's good.
fact, yeah, some people also believe the fact that she died so young at the age of 22 might have actually been because she made a deal with the devil. But I guess we'll never know.
Mm.
Hopefully, she was able to keep her soul if that was the case.
Um, so I just want to point something out, and it's gonna be one of my social work tangents that I tend to go on.
I love them.
Thanks. Um, okay, so you mentioned this thing like way at the beginning, when they say that people thought that she was just acting out for attention or
Mm,
whatever.
mm,
Even if someone is acting out for attention, which was clearly not the case in the story, you don't do that for no reason. You do that because you need attention. Pay
mm.
attention to the person. Don't just ignore it and say, "Ugh, a rebellious child that wants attention." A
Yeah.
child seeks attention because that's what they need. Find out what the problem is. Don't just ignore it.
This
Okay, I'm
was
done.
this was 1906.
I
Mental
get that.
health was not the highest thing on people's list of priorities, especially of an orphan, especially at that time of an orphaned African child.
It's easy to explain it in that way. It's easy to understand why that happened in that
Yeah,
time period,
yeah, I'm
but
not
it
defending it.
still happens now. Like,
That is,
let's be realistic, it still
yeah,
happens now.
yeah, it does. Sometimes
And there's no
kids
excuse
are
for that.
sometimes kids aren't dicks. Sometimes they are just mirrors to dicks.
Yes.
Mm,
What?
put that on a t-shirt. What?
Mirrors. I agreed before I fully understood what you said.
Mirrors. I'm saying that children hold up a mirror to society. They reflect
Ah,
what they learn. So
okay.
if you've been a dick,
Addict.
if they are being dicks, it's usually because they are mirroring actions they see in others, or it is, like you said, the manifestation of a need.
Hmm. But sometimes they are just dicks.
But sometimes they are just dicks.
Anyway.
That's why you got to sit down with one knee, get to their level, and be like, "Sup, kid? Why are you being such a dick?"
Don't say that. Don't teach them those words.
Oh
Say it in a
my word.
kid-friendly way.
Why are you being such a winky?
Why are you being a wiener?
Why are
Okay.
you being a wiener?
This is carried on for long enough.
I think this, yeah. Uh, guys, we're tired. I think this marks the end of my day.
Yeah.
I think,
Like,
yeah,
even literally, it's almost midnight, so it is literally the end of the day.
it is literally the end of the day. But guys, as always, thank you so much for listening. We're getting such sweet messages on Facebook and stuff of people who are listening and joining us on this adventure. And people are starting to share stories with us, and they are so creepy. So yes, I think we need to do that episode soon. If not the next one, then the one after. So you can look forward to that,
Mm.
guys. We will let you know. Episode 6 or episode 7 will be a personal encounters episode. That is happening. And follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. Email your personal encounters to us at deadcuriouspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to support us even further, we do have a Patreon. We've got a couple of things in the works for our patrons. So you can look forward to that.
Yes. And this was quite an intense episode, so please don't forget to listen to those bloopers at the end, and
Oh, there are so many.
we will have many for you to listen to this time.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening, and thank you for coming back. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Ding 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 ding.
Kids are dicks. Love the podcast, girls. Bye.
Hey Jess. Hey Jess. Hey Jess.
Hey, Roxanne.
This is Magic at the wrong number.
We're starting this again.
Did I miss anything? Jessica? Jessica, hello? Oh my god. Oh my god, Jessica! Jessica! Jessica, hello! No!
I forgot that I muted my microphone.
I was like, we're
Because
going
I
to have
was
to
coughing.
stop the stuffing recording
And then I
again for like
forgot
the
to
how many
unmute.
time? Oh. Yes. Australia, listen to me.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the long introduction and doing like most of the talking. I appreciate it.
I meant catch my breath after all the running I was doing to get the thing set up.
Well, thanks for that too. I've just been sitting comfortably in my cupboard for like half an hour.
You bitch.
I'm sorry. Okay, anyway. Is Fifi
I'm
someone
sorry.
from RuPaul, or where did you get this name from?
I think Fifi was on RuPaul.
Not
Season
surprised.
4.
Sorry, lost my place again.
It's a documented series. It sounds
I was
like
thinking documented.
documented. It's a highly documented
like-
story. What the hell is
Oh,
that?
my laugh is getting strange.
Every episode, your laugh gets weirder and weirder.
Yeah.
Did I say that right? Position. I said position, hey.
I unmuted just to tell
Okay,
you how
cool.
I nearly choked.
So my story, fuck. Well, she's also a girl. I mean, bleh. And this is the position. Clara. I'm gonna have to stop and start after every sentence. But if that's how I have to do it, that's how I'm gonna do it. Hello? Are you on mute? Bitch, say something. What? Oh my word, stop it. What is that? Some creepy shit. No, don't do that. No, wow.
Okay, so I'm never allowed to sing again.
Jessica, you did not hear what I heard. No.
Oh.
It is like midnight. I'm trying to tell you a story about demonic possession, and then your voice did some creepy shit there. No.